The hedgehog who serves absolute truth, reduces the world to one organizing principle, raises his spines all over, and staunchly resists all other views. The cunning and mercurial fox rides the waves of tumultuous times, narrowing his eyes and discerning the discordant voices that can reshape the world. I have been thinking about these words a lot. I put this parable on a post recently and asked my audience if they are a hedgehog or a fox. The reactions are something, but that has given me the impression that people don't know what this actually is all about. They just know the commander said neither and left it at that. We all resonate with that, myself included. It is the most pivotal question the commander has been given, and frankly, it is the entire thesis of Girls Frontline too. Yes, it is that important. But if you peel back the context and look at the origins of this parable, it is much, much more than that. Philosophers have discussed and debated this for centuries, so let's break this down. The original parable is from Archilochus, a Greek poet. It comes from a single page from a book that no longer exists. That page is all that is left. The original quote is, "The fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing." This is where the debate begins. Philosophers have discussed what this actually meant. At first, they concluded that this is in regards to conflict. A fox is cunning and has a lot of options, while a hedgehog only has one option, which is its spines. However, that's all the hedgehog needs, as when they extend their spines and curl up, the fox cannot easily attack the hedgehog. So the moral lesson here is it is better to be a specialist than to be an everyman. This gets taken a step further in an essay by Isaiah Berlin called The Hedgehog and the Fox, where the author goes to label multiple philosophers and inventors as hedgehogs and foxes, while also going into Leo Tolstoy, the author of War and Peace, and also the primary subject of his essay. I actually listened to this as an audiobook. It's an interesting read if you're into that kind of thing, but the main point is Tolstoy was not someone who easily fit in either category. He was one of the leading thinkers who challenged the unscientific nature of writing history, claiming it is often riddled with opinions and falsehoods. And his journey was to find the perfect scientific method to accurately depict human history. This would lead him studying many practices, a big one being sociology. But ultimately, he never found that silver bullet, and he ended up passing on unsatisfied. He wasn't quite a fox because he would fully embrace these practices, studying and legitimately becoming a believer. But he wasn't quite a hedgehog because he would often contradict his own beliefs and scrutinize the system. Berlin ended up concluding that Tolstoy had the mind of a fox but the heart of a hedgehog. He explored many things, but he wanted to find the one thing that could fulfill his desires. And while Berlin doesn't quite say this, it does give off the impression that Tolstoy had lived an unfulfilled life thanks to this contradiction within himself. Berlin's essay would be brought up again decades later by James C. Collins, where he more or less denounced the fox mindset while making the hedgehog concept, showing that when you make something that has passion, skill, and economic drive, you can become the best at it. And this was used as a business model. At this point, you may be thinking that hedgehogs have the superior mindset, and if you only looked at Berlin's work and Collins' work, you would easily come to this conclusion. But there have been many counter-arguments against this. Ironically, the ones who praise the hedgehog mindset are hedgehogs themselves. Simply put, they literally can't comprehend the mindset of a fox. Immediately, there are two things wrong with the synopsis from both writers. First is a misrepresentation of the fox's mindset. The parable states the fox knows many things, and that's it. It never quantifies how much it knows per subject. There's just an assumption that these many things are small in nature. While it is reasonable to assume this, it is ultimately an assumption. Second is the misrepresentation of the fox itself. Many ran with the assumption that the hedgehog is superior to the fox since it knows one big thing, and therefore the fox's qualities by nature are bad. This is an unfair synopsis, especially when you consider the actual qualities of the fox's mindset. For example, the biggest criticism in Colin's work is that businesses literally cannot afford to be hedgehogs, as when times change or disaster happens, a business has to be ready to adapt. Being rigid and sticking to one thing with no backup plans can utterly annihilate your business. Another criticism of Colin's work is from Peter C. DeMarco. In his article called The Moral Fox, he stated, "His hedgehog-like focus on greatness creates a proxy for greed. Goodness is almost treated with disdain, turned upside down and inside out. Excellence is no longer an interior choice, but socialized and measured by the market. This inversion confuses our sense of the true good because what we think the words mean and the principles by which good occurs are twisted and distorted." To put this in another way, a hedgehog mindset has a major pitfall, and that is intolerance. The hedgehog mindset demands purity, absolution, and perfection. This flies in the face of reality, as it is nowhere near perfect. It is messy, chaotic, and is filled with individuals with their own perspective of life. To the hedgehog, good is not good enough. There must be a measured level of success, and anything below that is failure. There is a powerful quote that was once said. It is believed to be by Winston Churchill, though I can't find the exact source of it. But the quote is, "Perfection is the enemy of progress." One should always strive for the perfect answer, but one must also recognize when something will get the job done, even if only for that moment. Constant improvement over time is always possible, and it is often the most realistic choice. Now, let's take a closer look at the fox, and this is best shown with the Greek storyteller Aesop and his version of the hedgehog and the fox. A fox swimming across the river was barely able to reach the bank, where he lay bruised and exhausted from his struggle with the swift current. Soon a swarm of blood-sucking flies settled on him, but he lay quietly, still too weak to run away from them. A hedgehog happened by. "Let me drive the flies away," he said kindly. "No, no," exclaimed the fox. "Do not disturb them. They have taken all they can hold. If you drive them away, another greedy swarm will come and take the little blood I have left." The moral of this story is it's better to deal with a lesser evil than to risk a greater one by removing what is already there. Now, whether you agree with this moral or not is entirely up to you, but this does showcase what the fox is all about: tolerance, adaptability, and wisdom. The fox mindset is to view the world for what it is and make judgments on an individual basis. It is far more complex and tiring, and this is often what is needed to maintain stability. The fox may not necessarily accept all views, but the mindset often hungers to understand. They are never satisfied with just one worldview because it is too limiting, and often leads to blind spots when up against opposition. Their goal is to study many things in effort to understand the world and how it ticks. It's why, even though the fox feels pain from being sucked dry, it knows how to live under such circumstances. Which leads to the negatives of the fox mindset. Its most common pitfall is that it can often be too tolerant. Tolerance is the acceptance that not everything is perfectly the way you want it to be. However, it is not the acceptance of inaction. If a fox says, "Well, this isn't my problem, someone else can handle it," that is cowardice. At some point, the fox has to actually maintain a firm stance in order to make progress. If the fox is the captain of a ship, it may take in the opinions of its crew, but the decision of where to go ultimately rests on them. Commitment may be the fox's worst enemy, especially when it affects others. It's why people actually praise the mindset of a hedgehog more openly. Not only does their simplicity make it easy to follow, but the ability to be unrelenting on who they are and what they represent makes them much more admirable. At this point, you may realize that the hedgehog and fox is more nuanced than just a way of thinking. It's also about how to lead others. While it certainly isn't Archilochus' intention, Isaiah Berlin's essay is what popularized this thinking exercise. Now, they've become business models and personality tests. But let's circle back to Girls Frontline. I haven't mentioned the parable since the beginning, and that's because, at least based on my research, the way that the Earl describes the hedgehog and the fox is entirely unique to Girls Frontline alone. So not only is his concept specific to Girls Frontline, but it also recontextualizes the meaning behind the hedgehog and the fox. Though, make no mistake, the similarities are there. Let's break it down. The hedgehog who serves absolute truth, reduces the world to one organizing principle, raises his spines all over, and staunchly resists all other views. This feels a little self-explanatory. Like in the original stories, the hedgehog is simple, yet resolute. Though, like everything, the devil is in the details. The hedgehog who serves absolute truth. This falls in line with the original parable from Archilochus, with the hedgehog knowing one big thing. In this case, is the absolute truth. Reduces the world to one organizing principle. This can mean so many things. Some are charitable, some not so much. Let's go to the next line. Raises his spines all over and staunchly resists all other views. The use of spines show that the hedgehog is willing to inflict harm, and the objective is to repel narratives that contradict his own. Therefore, in my opinion, the most realistic interpretation of this statement is that the hedgehog will resolutely oppose and destroy those that go against the absolute truth. This leads to a question. What is the absolute truth? Now, let's go to the second half of this. The cunning and mercurial fox rides the waves of tumultuous times, narrowing his eyes and discerning the discordant voices that can reshape the world. This is already harder to decipher than the hedgehog, and that's by design. The cunning and mercurial fox rides the waves of tumultuous times. Note the positive spin on this. The fox is cunning and mercurial, or in other words, he is manipulative. So to ride the wave of tumultuous times means to be above the chaos. He can stand above the masses that are confused and scared, narrowing his eyes and discerning the discordant voices that can reshape the world. Now, note the negative spin on this. To narrow your eyes is to study with deep intent, and to discern the discordant voices that can reshape the world is to be the judge of others that disagree with the system that has been established. The Earl asks his commander, "Are you a hedgehog or a fox?" Let's reword this question. Are you an executioner or are you a judge? Will you believe in the system or will you be part of that system? One path protects the utopia, the other path protects the people. Now, of course, the commander chose neither. There are two outcomes to this. What many don't know or understand is that there is a third option to the hedgehog or the fox, and that is to be a sheep. A sheep is one who chooses to not think. They just follow. They have no ambition, no heart, no individuality. They just follow the pack and gleefully choose to be herded. If the shepherd tells them to be scared, they will be scared. If he tells them to destroy, they will destroy. If he tells them to be happy, they will even be genuinely happy. Now, if you haven't understood yet, the hedgehog and the fox are mindsets meant for leaders. So it is understandable that not everyone is willing to lead, but it is an objective truth that a sheep is easily manipulated and often does not realize that they are. Fortunately, the commander is not a sheep, not even close. Not even the Earl thinks that. There is a reason why he even asked him that question in the first place. So what is the second outcome? I know the joke is self-exile, but the answer is much more powerful than you may think. At the very beginning of Girls Frontline 2, the commander states, "No, my choice is to stop being your pawn. Hedgehog or fox, I still end up being used as a stepping stone by you and other bastards like you. Does it matter what choice I make? The world hasn't become any better or worse. Nothing has changed at all despite all the choices I made." In short, the commander states, even if I chose to be a hedgehog or a fox, I would actually be a sheep to the ones who hold real power, the shepherd. The utopia may do as it says and protect the people who chooses to be part of it. But at what cost? What must be stripped from ourselves in order to establish the promised land? And the commander realized that morality and justice would be the first to be thrown out the window. That is the real reason behind the rejection. The cost was too much. So this begs the question, what is the commander's mindset? What is his goal? And who is he as a person? There's a lot of ways to answer this, but I like to go back to a collab story in Girls Frontline 1. And this collab was with Ghost in the Shell. In this story, an AI was uploaded and it took over the world. And all the dolls in Griffin were reprogrammed and put into a digital space where they can live happily and live simple lives. Humanity was set to be installed with a neural device that would make them post-human and suppress all their emotions while becoming far more intelligent, so their primal instincts would no longer be a factor. The sole exception to this was the commander, and his authentic self was necessary to stabilize the Griffin T-dolls, who all felt as if they lost something, despite their memories being erased. The commander's presence stopped the chaos that was within their neural clouds. The post-human and primary antagonist of the story, Takashi Shimamura, wanted the commander to understand that his dolls could be perfectly happy and avoid war and pain should he accept a transformation into becoming a post-human, so he can always be with his dolls, while he himself would be happy. While the commander instantly rejected becoming a post-human, he hesitated when it came to the dolls. The story was pretty deep in Girls Frontline, so a lot has happened, and the commander truly did think that if there was a chance that the dolls could live happily, even without him, perhaps that was a good deal. However, Motoko Kusanagi gave him a firm answer to his deliberation. He straight up told him that he was being selfish for thinking he could answer for those who were never given a choice in the first place. If he was so concerned about their happiness, he would save them first and then ask them for the genuine answer. So to skip ahead at the end of the story, the commander managed to fight his way to Takashi alone, and he was resolved to destroy the simulation that he created and save the T-dolls. Takashi asked him why does he reject this reality. This follows his ideals, a world where there is no war or strife, and he can stand as the shining beacon in the brave new world. Why stay in a reality that is cruel and ruthless? And I want you all to listen to the commander very carefully. I couldn't have come so far on my own. Too many have made sacrifices in the past for the present. I am on a quest to find utopia, but the journey there will not be smooth and easy. It is not merely a thorny path. The way to utopia is paved with the corpses and blood of our forebears. With every step I take, I tread upon someone else's sacrifice. And you're telling me to turn my back on this heavy reality for a lofty castle in the sky? No dice. I will never forget the blood and tears they have shed. I will move forward, carrying them with me. It doesn't matter even if I don't make it there in my lifetime. I will pave the way forward for those who come after me. The commander can represent a lot of things. He has fox tendencies, he has hedgehog tendencies. But in my opinion, I think above all else, he represents courage. Courage is not talked about much in the media nowadays. In fact, fear is polar opposite, is often what is blasted the most. The fatal flaw of the hedgehog and the fox story is that it only focuses on success. It never focuses on loss and failure. It doesn't tell you to handle the unknown or even what you should do if you were to be challenged. And it's frankly astonishing to me that the media have crafted heroes that now simply says, you win because you are a winner, and that's it. No one talks about needing courage and to face your fears. It's just, here, take a roadmap. Follow this roadmap, and as long as you mimic these steps, you don't have to worry about a thing in your life. I'm going off script here because I don't know how else to put these into words. I feel like a lot of people in this world, they don't have heroes. They don't have a guiding principle. They want to follow roadmaps. They want to follow someone, no matter who they are or what they're doing, because at least I belong somewhere. I am lucky to have a family that was able to tell me to follow my own path, to not follow what my father did or my mother did or even my older sister. I've always been told to forge my own path. And if it wasn't for that, I'm pretty sure I would be a sheep right now. And I honestly can't imagine myself being that. I think we can all stand right now to learn from the commander and to learn that you need courage in order to stand up to face the lies and the evil that you face, not just in life, but within yourself as well. If there's anything that I want people to take away from this video, is that the hedgehog and the fox aren't inherently bad. They are both mindsets to be used, but they're not mindsets to live by. They shouldn't be your entire identity. You shouldn't have to choose between one or the other, because the mindset doesn't define you. It's who you are as a person. It's what you stand for. It's your morals. It's how you want to live, and it's how you want to be remembered. Because death comes for everyone. It is an inevitable fact of life. So everyone should take the time to really think, what is their purpose in life? And you may not know it now, but that's why you have the responsibility to keep living so you can find that purpose. Have the courage to face yourself. Have the courage to love yourself. And maybe most importantly, have the courage to be kind to others. And have the courage to be that shining beacon that the people need.